If you ever had a chance to have a conversation with yourself in the past, what would you talk about? For me personally, I think I would say, shave that stinking mustache. The laser is 'cause I like sci-fi. The dude is 'cause I am a rad guy. 99 is 'cause I like Wayne Gretzky. That's why I'm Lazy Dude 99. Lazy time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review and talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch a review. Hey everybody, I'm Lazy Dude 99. Today I am reviewing All New X-Men Volume 1. That's right, this is the new story of the new stuff that's going on in the X-Men universe. If you don't know, let me just quickly catch you up. In Avengers vs. X-Men, Cyclops, being possessed by this Phoenix, killed Charles Xavier. And this permanently split the X-Men into two sides. You had the majority of the X-Men that went with Wolverine to the Jean Grey School of Higher Learning, and you had the few X-Men that decided to join Cyclops, including Magneto, Emma Frost, Magique, or is it Magic? I think it's spelled Magique. Anyway, and so you have them all trying to form this subdivision of the X-Men, being a little bit more ruthless than the past. Not actually killing or hurting anyone, but whenever a mutant is oppressed, they go down there and they take care of business. Leaving the rest of the X-Men in such a weird position. If they attack Cyclops, they're mutant on mutant, and they're attacking their own kind, bringing a war between mutants. If they leave Cyclops to do nothing, then basically he's roaming free to do whatever the heck he wants, and they think that that's giving a bad name to mutants. So Beast, who is dying, decides in a last-ditch effort to go back in time to the original X-Men, being Angel, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, Cyclops, and bring them back to this day and age in order to show Cyclops what kind of man he's become. When I first saw this story, I was like, okay, that's a little weird, isn't it? I mean, to have yourself go to see your future self. And I wasn't fully on board with this at the beginning, thinking, okay, like, why would you do this, such a risk to maybe shatter all space and time because you just really wanted to do this. But as the story went on, I found out that this was a really interesting story. Because what I thought it was going in the beginning, I thought it was going to be focused on the regular X-Men that we have now, looking at the old X-Men and saying, wow, look, they're so different. What we got instead was the main focus is on the old X-Men coming back to seeing all the new X-Men and going, holy crap, this is different. And not how I expected us to grow up. I at first didn't get the title. I thought, All New X-Men? What the heck does that mean? I mean, the book's not going to be new forever. But then I realized it was the main focus was on the old X-Men. And now they are getting new life experiences, making them all new. I love how this story pans out, how it goes through the old X-Men, because each one of these reacts to the situation differently. Beast doesn't really have a whole lot of time. Like, he doesn't even have a whole lot of time to react like, okay, I'm a blue monster now. All he has to figure out now is like, okay, I'm dying. How can I save myself? There's not a whole lot with Iceman. He's just like, holy crap, there's myself right in front of me. And both future Iceman and old Iceman are weirded out by this. They're like really weirded out by each other. And then you have Cyclops, who, in Beast's words, when Beast said, I need you to come with me, he said, I need you to help me stop yourself from committing mutant genocide. Now, I don't think that present-day Cyclops in this story is going towards that, but at least that's what the X-Men believe right now. But I'll get to more on regular-day Cyclops later. As for old original Cyclops, he's now wondering how the heck he could have done these things. How the heck he could have killed Xavier and is starting a mutant revolution and is working side by side with Magneto. And then you have everyone that looks at him differently now. Everyone looks at him and they're looking at him with different eyes. This gets delved in more in the second volume, so I'll talk more about that there when I review the second volume. But for this story, it just starts out where everyone's reacting a little different to him, and he's wondering how the heck this can happen. And then you have the most interesting change. It gets more interesting in the next book, but Jean Grey, this is my favorite version of Jean Grey. Because, let me just tell you guys, Jean Grey to me has never been that interesting of a character. She was always too perfect. She had no flaws. And I was just like, I never liked her because of that. Her only flaw was that she was attracted to both Cyclops and Wolverine, which didn't make much sense in the comics as much. It made just as much sense in the comics as it does in the movie. It didn't make any sense. But this version of Jean Grey, first of all, when Beast goes back to get these guys, he goes back before she learns that she has telepathy. She's working on her telekinesis, and she's working on that, but she didn't know that she was a psychic yet. And so through this story, she actually starts to unravel her psychic powers early. Beast says that she shouldn't be unraveling them for another year, but after being told that she has psychic powers, she's now using them. But the cool thing about this, the thing that makes her a more interesting character than before, is she's using them without ever being trained by Xavier on how to use them. Meaning, there's no protocol. She has no limitations that she's given. Once again, it dives more onto that in the second volume, but as for the first volume, it sets up her as being a more interesting character. My favorite moment is when she's working to try to save Beast, and she's in his mind, and she wants to know what happened to her. Why is this school not called the Charles Xavier Institute? Why is it called the Jean Grey Institute for Higher Learning? And she finds out that she died, but she says, okay, how did I die? And Beast says, which time? And she says, I don't even know how to respond to that. Which I thought, that's so interesting, because for us it's comics, and it's every 5 days Jean Grey dies in comics. You know, it's become a running gag. I mean, that Jean Grey dies every few years. But that time when Beast says which time, and you see a look of horror on her face. Imagine if you were told that in the future, not only were you dead, but you died multiple times. But this also adds a different dynamic to the whole Scott and Jean Grey relationship, because at this point in the past, Scott was just coming to the point where he's going to say that he really cared about her and he really loves her. And when he shows in this book, you know, just saying, are you okay? Is everything okay? She says, get the heck away from me. Leave me alone. And it's understandable because she's reading the minds of everyone and seeing what he did in the future. And Scott has to really grasp with doing this in the future. But okay, that's only one side of the story. We also have on the other side Cyclops, Magneto, Emma Frost, and Magic. Can someone tell me how the right way to pronounce that is? Is it just spelled differently but still pronounced as magic, or is it pronounced magic? Anyways, you have him who, thanks to the Phoenix, his powers are actually damaged. That they're not exactly working properly. It's like being sent back to square one. He still has his mutant powers, but he doesn't have as the control over them that he used to. And same with Emma Frost and same with Magneto. All three of them are experiencing massive power loss. And this proves a little difficult because Scott is trying to recruit mutants from all over the world. We actually get a couple of recruited mutants in here. My favorite one, but not so much in this book, she just does little stuff in this book, but in the Uncanny X-Men book, which I might also review because I'm really liking that book too, she gets the name Tempest. She's from Australia. She can freeze time. And then there's a boy that can heal, and another boy with chameleon-like powers where he can shapeshift into anyone. So Scott in this book doesn't view himself as the bad guy. I mean, the X-Men view him as the new Magneto, but Scott views himself as doing something that is necessary. And maybe it's just because Cyclops is my favorite character of the X-Men, but I find myself siding with him. I'm like, yeah, screw those humans. But what I like about it is, like, he's not the new Magneto, because Magneto would be like Homo sapien and, crush people back in the day. But Cyclops isn't doing that. He says clearly that they're not out to hurt any humans just because they're humans. For those human supporters, they say, we will protect you and we support you too. And we will help our kind, our mutant kind. But if anyone tries to hurt any mutants, we will be there to stop them. There's this great scene where Cyclops is just put face to face with his old self. And you see him sizing up everything, and he's going through every possibility. The first thought that comes to his mind isn't, oh, my younger self is here. He goes through, okay, is it this? Could it be shapeshifters? Could it be a psychic messing with me? And then he comes to the conclusion, no, this is me right in front of me, and he's seeing me beside Magneto. This cannot work. Who would do this? One of the things that I like about Cyclops in this book is that when he knows that he needs a new base of operations, that's a secret one, well, no one will look for him, where does he decide to go? He decides to go to the Weapon X facility. That's right, he builds a new school for mutants at the Weapon X facility. And he says it's the last place anyone would look for us. And normally when people say that, I'm like, no, they'd look there, but come on, who would think to look in a place where someone's starting a mutant revolution in a mutant torture facility? It's stuff like that that really makes me like Cyclops even more. It's a strategic placement for him, and it really works out. And plus, it's just interesting to see New Mutants going to school at the Weapon X facility. I'm really enjoying these X-Men books. Right now, these X-Men books are my favorite part of the Marvels. Like, I don't read a whole lot of Marvel. I read Spider-Man and I read X-Men. Yeah, that's about it. But this X-Men book is definitely my favorite that I'm reading. And Uncanny X-Men, but I'm talking about this, so I'll just wrap it up. The thing that I really like about this book is this story feels like a story that would happen in a regular X-Men book. And what I mean by that, because it has. Think about it. It's people from the future taking you from the past and saying, we need your help in the future. That has happened to the X-Men multiple times. I mean, you got Cable and Bishop, people from horrible futures that come back in time to make sure that that the past can save the future, kind of thing. The only difference is the future is the present, and the past is like the past. Like, normally we're told it from this perspective of the characters that we are following. We are following the X-Men in the normal time, and so someone from the future comes to normal time. But no, we're in normal time, and we're going back to the original X-Men. I think that's such an interesting twist on the story, and adds great character depth to these other characters. I find myself liking Angel, and I always liked Iceman. He doesn't really do much in this. But I found myself liking Angel, liking Beast, and liking Jean Grey more than I ever have. Because they're these characters that are thrust into this situation which they are probably inexperienced for, but also it's them. It's themselves reacting to themselves, and you get some great character stuff on this. The story ends with Kitty Pryde saying that she's going to now lead this new team of all new X-Men. Now, this story, I'll talk about more on that later, but, it sets up for a great dynamic for Kitty Pryde, because Kitty Pryde in the original X-Men group, she was the youngster. She was the tag-along. She was the youngster, while everyone else was more experienced, but she was still, giving it her all. Now you have that Kitty Pryde is going to be the veteran of the characters, and everyone else is inexperienced compared to her. That adds a great dynamic that I'll talk about more in my second review of Volume 2. So let me just say, guys, that if you have any interest in X-Men at all, pick up All New X-Men #1. Get into these books, because these are awesome. And it's not just Wolverine plus the X-Men. Wolverine is in the background. He's barely in this book, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, come on, he has his own book. He can be the main character of that book. This is about the original X-Men front and center, and it's a great read because of that. So in the end, I'm giving All New X-Men Volume 1 a 7 out of 10. So thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, I'm LazyDude99, and if I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.